When I look out at the ocean, it may not be quite the same as what other people see when they look out at the ocean. The inspiration for a lot of good science, in my experience, has been from being out in the field, being out and observing nature. The Moorea project, which I've been working on now for about 14 years, actually started on a surfing trip that I took down there right after I finished graduate school. I went down there a few weeks ahead of my friends and found an island that hadn't been studied. We went out and we deployed a bunch of sensors out on the reef, and they were full of really interesting data on a part of the ocean that hadn't been sampled before. So I took those data and turned them into a small research proposal and got some money to go back down to do science this time, and did another experiment. From that, my research program down there started to really take off. Unlike a normal research proposal that would be, say, 3 years long, this is a project that's meant to run for 30 years. About 5 years into the project, the reef was hit by a Category 4 cyclone. The coral colonies that would stick up on the reef were ripped off by the wave forces. What made that reef so interesting to begin with was a reef out in the middle of the ocean, incredibly pristine, unaffected so far by human activities, went from about as good a reef as you'd ever find anywhere to one that was pavement. Would it go back to the way it looked before? Would it change into something entirely different? Would nothing happen? We didn't know. And an amazing thing happened. The reef is back almost to as good as it was before. The coral colonies are back to around 65% coral cover. Why did that happen? Why did that reef survive so well? Why is it so resilient? How can it recover from such a big change? And if we can understand that, then can we apply that knowledge to other reefs that have been similarly disturbed and generalize this result? Duke has been an amazing supporter of our work on this project. Duke has provided resources to support PhD students, and both of them have been supported by generous fellowships from Duke.
I'm on a 2-year fellowship that's from donor money. You know, it's just my first year, but I've already gotten to get out here twice. I mean, a really big reason I came to Duke was because I had this really strong support.
Coming to Moorea has really been the opportunity of a lifetime to participate in an international research project, to come here and see in person the concepts that we're studying. Really just helps us to drive the research further and our understanding further.
Another thing that Duke has been incredibly supportive of is being able to work internationally, being able to work on the other side of the world, and valuing that international reach to work on hard problems that take decades to unravel. And I'm very grateful that Duke, not only financially, but as a community, as an intellectual community, is brave. Working on environmental problems requires a lot of things to go right. We need to have really smart students that really want to work on solving these problems. We need resources for those students to succeed. We need colleagues that want to work together and think outside the box. And Duke is one of the few places in the world where all those things come together. I'm really grateful to be part of that. It gives me a lot of optimism for the world that we can train a group of new scientists and new citizens to think that way and make a difference.